The Talk Shows family is Nomsa here at Ngosi Talk Shows. Find your own voice led from within. So with me today, I'm with Shireen Lovegrove and Claudia Passa. How are you, ladies?
We're good, thank you, Nomsa.
Absolutely. And we are good. Thank you. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. So the topic today is be accountable, be incredible. Accountability is the bridge between what you say you want and what you actually build. It's not about perfection, punishment, or shame. It's about ownership of your choices, your words, your time, your healing, your relationships, your money, and your goals. So when you practice accountability, you stop living on excuses and start living on evidence. You become trustworthy to yourself um, first and then to everyone connected to your vision. So accountability is one of the most powerful forms of self-respect. I can be accountable on, and when you can be counted on, your confidence rises, your results improve, your life becomes more stable, more meaningful. So Carol Ann and Shireen, you both, they chose this topic. So we're going to ask Shireen, what was the motivation behind this topic, please?
Thank you, Nomsa. As we said, I wasn't quite sure how Carol Ann came up with the topic, but we had the conversation last week, which was really about working with clapping and cheering and deeply appreciating people. And then we started to look a little at what helps. We were talking about habits and maintaining habits. I think if I remember, that's how it all came about. And we talked about, well, if we have to maintain habits, it probably is about what is the accountability that we need to be accountable for, accountable to ourselves, and accountability towards others. And how does that help us grow? How does that make us successful? And I think that was where we were really kind of wanting to move towards it. And yeah, I loved what you said there, Nomsa, which is accountability is not about blame, right? Very often we've all grown up, maybe not you necessarily, but I know that I grew up in a very big blame culture. And so accountability always seems to be about blame. But actually, accountability just means to take account. It's like having an account book. It's about taking account, taking stock, looking at things, reflecting over those things, recognizing that if you have a profit and a loss, if you do certain things, you'll get a profit, and you do things, you might get a loss. And how do you balance the books? So accountability really is about taking that ownership and understanding the consequences. And for me, what really I was starting to think about while I was doing that is as a neurobiologist, I'm really interested. How does accountability motivate us? How does what are the brain structures that kick in so that I have a deeper understanding what was really going on? And what is quite important is kind of recognizing that when we take accountability, we have really three brain centers that get affected. One is the front, which is very much our dorsal prefrontal cortex, and that's our thinking center, our planning center, the center part of us that's able to do so much more. It's able to discern, it's able to take chances, it's able to switch things. It kind of is our mastermind, really. And then accountability also allows us to get a reward and to anticipate rewards. So when we start to become accountable and take account, we get rewarded and we look forward to that reward. So when we accountable to ourselves, we give ourselves a little present at the end of it once we've completed what we're going to complete. We know that there's a consequence. But accountability isn't about a bad consequence. It's about, hey, there's a consequence and I get a reward. So it's very much about that. The other part of the prefrontal cortex and just below is the anterior cingulate. And this area part of our brain very much affects, helps us balance what we want as a future desire and what we want as a desire now, right? So, because very often the desire now is I want to go and do this and I want to go and procrastinate. I want to go and, but actually what it does is it monitors that so that we become much more focused towards doing the desire that's in the future. So we have so it allows us to be accountable to our future, to our gifts, to what we're here for. So I really love the idea of how understanding where it goes in the brain so that I can understand what happens and how does this work. Because we can talk about it from what we see, but sometimes it's really important to kind of get to know what structures also help us in the process, so that we can have a deeper wonder of the magic of our mind, of our body, and how it interrupts and reflects within our feeling body, which is our emotions, right? And how that part of the limbic center can increase our feelings for desire. So that's kind of where I went with looking around on that.
Mhm.
Claudia, what's been happening for you? What's has anything happened that you've become accountable for recently?
Well, actually, yes, absolutely. Yes. Things to do with the business, to change a few things on the website and so on. But I did it as well whilst joining a group of people with the same goal. So this helped me as well to be accountable for myself and the actions, to do it with a group of people together rather than by myself. No, it was just amazing to hear so many informations about accountability, Shireen. Yes, just so much stuff actually, yeah, coming out of just this one word, right?
Yeah.
As well. I mean, I'm just thinking about it. It's like one of the most powerful tools as well for growth, either personally, professionally as well, or spiritually as too. So just like it is actually very vast, and it can reach so many areas as well in our life just by being accountable. And something that's well what came up is it helps us to build self-trust. Especially as well with me now. I joined a group of people and we had the same goals in regards to working a bit on the business, to some goals. And when we follow through in regards to what it is we say we want to be doing, and then as well, this strengthens actually the trust in ourselves. This I could just now experience and feel again in my body, because I'm going through this example right now. And self-trust actually is the foundation for us to feel confident and to step forward, to do the next step and the step after that and so on. Because the thing is as well, what happens, usually we are not supposed to see the end product, like the very result and how it's going to look like. We can't do this. It's just not happening, because everything happens on the way as we go along. And this is why we need to do the action as well. And by holding ourselves accountable, or as well, you might want to work with the body, a friend as well. So you two pair up together and you've got like a similar goal as well at this stage. And then you hold yourselves as well accountable together, just like to keep it going. Because the thing is as well, the motivation comes and goes. I mean, I just know, and obviously, I think we all know, but the accountability is what keeps us moving forward, even when we don't feel inspired and so on, And growth, again, doesn't happen just from intending alone. This is, again, when accountability turns the ideas into action, and the action then they bring us the results. So some more things to throw in how great it is. Nomsa, what's your input in regards to accountability?
I like it when you said you had to team up with a group of people and do the like to reach your goals, because they are reaching the same goals, so you teamed up with them so they can hold you accountable, and you can hold them accountable, so you meet up and you make sure that you see where you are, where you're going. And also it helps when you have struggles as well.
She has, what's happened there?
Oh no, is she a bit frozen?
Yeah. Okay, we'll just continue until Nomsa comes
So I
back.
think
Yes, yes.
yeah,
Ah, there you are, you're back.
yeah.
Nomsa, you
Is it
were frozen for a bit, so
Yeah, if you can
whatever
just
you
repeat
wanted
again.
to repeat.
Yeah.
Okay, I said that I like Shireen. Well, I like it that Claudia, she's actually teamed up with a certain team to actually hold her goals accountable, for them to hold it accountable, and they work as a team so they can, because they are focusing on reaching the same goals. So it's good when you have a team that you work together and you can meet up and see where you are and stuff. If you're struggling, they can help you and lift you up. And I also liked when Shireen said the accountability allows you to get a reward, but it has a consequence, but not a bad one. So I really, really love that. And for me, I think accountability becomes real when it's personal, when you decide what looks like in your life. And when you're honest about it, when you follow through as well, and when you take ownership and discipline, maturity, if you don't define it, you will keep using the word without practicing the behavior. So I think that is really, really important. For me, last week, I think 2 weeks ago, I went to the altar and I asked God to actually discipline me, because I felt that I wasn't disciplined. It's like if I decided to make a decision, I want to be able, but I think I might regret that, because since I've asked him to do that, he's not letting me get away with anything. So I think that is really, really important, because sometimes me, I've always have accountability partner in everything that I do for my business. Dr. Bigot and Kamau, although Kamau he's gone very quiet. Yeah, my business accountability, and I have Pastor Henry as well, is my business accountability. And these guys, they're tough as well. So if I'm like behind, or if I don't follow through with something, so we help each other out with things and stuff. And I think that is really, really important. And for me as well, the attitude that I have is, if I don't do what I said I will do, what are the consequences? Meaning I'm not going to reach my goals. So I always make sure that I do what I said I will do, and I write it down. It's like you'll find it everywhere. I've got a big diary, I've got my phone, and sometimes I have these things. So I write it. If I'm in the office, it goes everywhere. If I'm at home, I just write it piece by piece. Like when you leave the living room, there's a like trail of things that I need to do. So that's what I do. Just writing things and to remind me of important things that I need to do today. And once I've done the important ones, I don't try to push myself to be overwhelmed, but I just do the important ones. The deadline that I have, the deadline, or those that needs to be done, and I do it. Also, I scatter the jobs to people. I give them jobs. Like, you do this, I do that. You do this, I do that. So I think that is important.
Mm.
Over to you, Shireen.
Over to me.
Yeah.
Yes. I was just caught on your last thing, which was really important. And there's something about what you were saying, delegate, actually, weren't you? Delegating things, so giving responsibility to someone else, and having them be accountable to that responsibility, right? Obviously, that's the key. So I was thinking, in a sense, when we delegate, we also need to delegate accountability. We need to say, I'm giving you this job, you're accountable for it. You need to respond for that. You need to honor that. So if we don't do that very often, delegation doesn't work as well because it's top down and there's no internal agreement from the person that's being delegated to. So that's really interesting. Yes, and interesting that you said that you've changed stuff and now you delegate more, and you're accountable to your own personal stuff in a particular way, and really acknowledging, oh, if I don't do this, then hey, guess what? I don't get my dream, right? And I think that's really nice to keep remembering what is the dream, right? That's so very, very important. And I think that does help with accountability very much so. I wanted to just touch on something that Claudia said earlier on, which was wonderful. You're in a group now, and you're now actually getting to work with people. We know that the likelihood of someone being successful is actually 500% more than if you are doing something individually.
Interesting. Okay.
500% more, because we are social creatures. We actually like to have people around us helping us, right? We like to have input and also feedback, and we learn and we grow, and that increases the neuroplasticity because we're actually doing the stuff in the moment. We're learning from what we call a meta model. You're looking at somebody else doing things and you think, oh, I'll try that out. Your brain is firing. It's getting a lot of dopamine at the same time because it's getting rewarded by having people praise you in some way. Oh, you've done that. I've worked hard. I've done it. I've told people. And the relief, one, that you've done it, but also two, that you can stand up and say, hey, I've done this. And this was difficult, or hey, I haven't quite done it because this was challenging. I wonder if people can help me with this bit. It gives you a sense of safety and freedom. And I loved what you said. It builds self-trust. That was the bit that really got me. And it is kind of that felt sense, right? If you don't follow on your dreams, then you keep getting feedback that's negative. And that feedback causes us, often if it's negative, to separate from ourselves. And we start to become multiple personalities or multiple yous, okay? And what happens is these are the parts that cause us to go into these primary survival strategies that we used to have as a child. So if we're able to be accountable, then we don't cause this split because we don't have the negative feelings. And that then helps us to feel more grounded in ourselves and more confident. So I love that you brought that up because it's so, so, so very important. The sense of our self-trust, and everything is based on self-trust, isn't it? If we don't trust ourselves, how can we ever trust anybody else? But trust is built, right? Trust is built. If we don't build trust, it means that trust can disappear like that. So we have to build all the markers that tell us we can trust ourselves. Right? It's kind of like sometimes, I mean, I know this sounds a bit bizarre and I'm going to go a bit out, but it's kind of like for me, it's like, how do I know that I can trust God? Right? On some level, how do I know? But then I start to look at all the things that have happened in my life that may have happened differently if I hadn't have just let go and had trust. And it's because it's a sense of feeling that you develop. You don't just trust, you develop it. And you go, and that holds you in those times of difficulties. So when we are accountable, we always have to look at that aspect of how it affects us and how does it increase our sense of self-trust. So that was really very, very important for me. And when I heard, I thought, yes, 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 yes. I love that. I love that. Yeah. So, from, the idea of accountability and increasing our desires, the more accountable we become, the more we put in the behaviors that then become automatic behaviors for us. So it makes it easier to actually extend a little outside groups and actually be accountable in other areas of our life. So it never just is in one thing, it has a spillover effect, right? And we start to realize we start to be more accountable in, say, house cleaning, for example. Not that everyone does house cleaning, but there are different things that we perhaps might have been slacking off on. But because we've started to build those neural connections, we start to do more of other things as well. So we get more things complete. So our way is clearer, right? We put everything in place and we can allocate. And that's why I think was wonderful when Namsa said we can delegate, right? Because now you had the clarity. Now you had the space. The fact that you were becoming more and more accountable meant that you actually had more freedom. So yeah, I just, and now that we're talking, I'm kind of really noticing how that all fits together in a beautiful collection of not just tools, but a collection of a way of being, an essence of being.
Yeah, and it just reminded me there is this saying, it goes perfectly as well how you described it, Shireen, is basically how do you anything is how you do everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
That you start with accountability in one area and then it just like spills over automatically into other areas. And it's fantastic because, and then it becomes a way of you, how you are being. And so totally spot on. How you do anything is how you do everything. So I love this quote. Another thing as well, I realized too, in regards to spilling over effect, what you just said, Shireen, it deepens our integrity as well. Because when we live in alignment with our world and the personal integrity as well, with the accountability too, and that's important because integrity builds the credibility as well in every area of our lives. And this is how we want to be because people can feel this integrity or credibility as well. It's like, how do we feel about our work, our business, how do we feel about us being who we are today as well? So when those things really soak into us, people can feel it outside as well. So integrity, which builds credibility as well in our lives when we keep on being accountable as well for us. And then as well, instead of blaming, we talked about this at the very beginning. I'm not sure if we talked about, I think before we went live, instead of blaming people and circumstances and others about things, what is happening to us in our lives as well, we take accountability and we take responsibility for the choices and the outcomes as well that we have created or that we have gotten as well. So taking responsibility is something we have to learn in life to understand as well how it feels and what it means and how to take responsibility as well for our choices and outcomes as well. So this is another thing as well, what comes with being accountable as well. So basically it encourages us to be owning up for ourselves as well, our ownership. And another thing as well, just like these two things just stood out and they came up by listening to you, Shireen.
Mhm.
Nomsa, any more input from you as well? Yeah.
Yes, I like it when you say the importance of holding each other our accountability. I think that is really, really important. And also what Shireen said as well, if you don't follow through on your dreams, you can fall behind. And also you said, how do we trust God? So if he can come to us, I think trusting God as well, if you believe in him, you need to be able to trust him. You need to learn to listen to the voice of God as well, because you go to a point where you start hearing his voice, or you start, guys, is speaks through you as well. So you have to learn and trust. Even like Shireen, you even mentioned that there were times where you remember the times where you pull through, and that's when you know. Pastor James did say what you said as well, that if you have had a breakthrough in your life, so if you want to another breakthrough, you have to remember how you got that breakthrough, and you have to remember how God pulled you through from tough times. So, but for me, I'm in a point where I know that God is with me all the time, because I'm the one that he has seeked him, and seeking him, he knows that I want him in my heart, and I know that everything that I want to achieve is not going to, there are some things that I'm going to achieve just like that, but the things for long term, I know that I'm gonna have to go through challenges in life to learn something in order for me to find that breakthrough. So I hold myself accountable to make sure that I don't move away from God. Even if it's the business that I'm doing, I always make sure that I make sure that he knows in my heart that I cannot do it on my own. And also the important thing is holding yourself accountable, is having trust in, like Shireen, you did mention this, and Claudia did mention this, that it's important that we trust what we say we're going to do and follow through. You don't decide to do something, and then when you decide to do something and you opt out when things gets tough, you can't opt out like that. Me and my mom were doing something, and then I think that was 3 weeks ago, and everything just got shut down. And I was like, my mom, she's a pastor, and they were like, is that how life is? And I was like, oh my God. But I just, through those moments is when I had to see the power. And Shireen, I think you mentioned that there were times where you gave up doing things, and you look back and you're like, if I didn't give up on that one. And I was like to my mom, you could easily give up if you are not aware, you could easily give up. And what I'm noticing is the moment the challenges comes, some people pull through, they pull through where they need to go. They're like, I ain't doing this. They pull out. They're like, I'm not doing this. But that's the time the breakthrough comes. When things feel heavy, tough, and it's like, you are like, is it really worth it? That's when the breakthrough is behind. So it's good to hold yourself accountable. Me, I'm learning these things about life, that because I go through these challenges and I hold myself accountable. Holy Spirit tells me to keep going. There is no time for nonsense anyway. It's very tough. When you learn to listen to the Holy Spirit, you realize that God has no mercy when it comes to success. By the time I want to give up on something, or I want to grieve, or something happens, it goes, no, sir, nonsense. There's no time. There's no time. keep going. And the moment I keep going for those 2 days, then I see a breakthrough and I'm like, imagine if I'd given up. How many people who give up before they get to their breakthrough? That's the questions that we have to ask ourselves. They give up on that accountability. What do you think, Shirley?
I think there's so much in that. So much juicy stuff.
Juicy.
Giving up, persevering, creating a breakthrough. And also about knowing when something is really the wrong dream to carry, right? There's something about knowing, is this going to lead me to a breakthrough, or is this me just being bloody minded about something that really isn't for me? I think sometimes that can be, I think sometimes we mess up and not really connect correctly with our dreams and we don't listen to that inner voice first before we make a choice. So I think there's a couple of things that go on there, but that was really something that started to make me think about that giving up before a breakthrough. And I love that you said you stayed with it because you had a commitment to whatever it was that you had put into your goal. I think what really the question that started to kick in for me after the end of Claudia's conversation was really about, what does accountability really look like? What might be accountability for you might be different from accountability to others. And how do we stay on track? How do we stay in that accountability straight? And it was reminding me back in the good old days when I trained and did NLP, my very first NLP thing, and where we kind of really understood one thing: it's the feeling that drives everything. So the feeling informs the thoughts, and vice versa. The thoughts then inform the feeling. So when we have a goal or when we have a dream, we've got to be really clear: is this dream truly possible, right? So you go through a series of SMART kind of structures where you look to see what it is that I'm dreaming of. Is it possible? Am I too old to go and be the president of whatever, right? Well, maybe not so in America, but maybe you might be limited on your capability if you have never done politics before or any of those kinds of things. So it's about, what's the dream? Is the dream a really realistic dream? Then if it's a realistic dream, am I going to be able to ski like a top professional person in 6 months? Probably not. I'd have to lose a bit of weight first, right? I'd have to do all sorts of things. I'm not fit. So that wouldn't be possible. But maybe in, say, 5 years' time or 3 years' time, with a certain kind of regimen, I might be able to do that. Then it's, do I want it enough, right? We've got to want something enough to move from inertia into activation, right? We need to want something enough. And how do we do that? We've got to build the dream so big that that dream will pull us instead of us trying to push ourselves forward. We need the dream to pull us. So how it would look like is, what kind of behaviors do we need to be doing every day? What are the capabilities that we have already? These are the logical levels, but what are the capabilities that we have already that we can dovetail, add to? What capabilities do we need to learn in order to realize that dream? So Claudia said, oh, I needed to go into a group because I needed some accountability. I also needed feedback. I needed input, right? I need to learn as well and grow. Then the next is, what are your values? What are your beliefs that fit with that? When you get to those, up to that point, you start to feel more engaged. Your neurology is getting much more engaged, and your neurology is starting to feed and activate a lot of the dopamine system, a lot of the systems that are really starting to drive you forward. And then you have a state where you really start to go with who I am. So our identity. And when we really connect to who we are and what we are, why we're here, that gives us what's like a spiritual experience. And that's an experience which is just, we can say it's in communion with God. We can, whatever languaging we want to use, but it is a state of where we become at one with what we are here for. And then we have an experience that we can keep coming back to, because if we get that experience strong enough, we then crave it. We want it again and again and again. And that's a little bit like what allows us to continue even in those times when it's very, very difficult. But we have to do these steps. We have to look at accountability in the form of steps so that we can be truly accountable every day. So if I want to lose weight, what am I going to do every morning, right? I'm going to get out of bed and have a big glass of water, right? I'm going to do certain activities to make sure that that's going to help me. So it's going to look like that, right? And then you're going to think, what are my thoughts that I'm going to be thinking? How will, when I'm going to land up when problems happen, how am I going to troubleshoot? All of those things help us be accountable every time. So if we set it up that we've got what accountability should look like and see it as a dynamic flow, we will become more and more accountable, and it will be easier as we go. But we don't need to do hard things. We can make them easy. It doesn't have to be an effort, because if we let the dream pull us, no matter how difficult it is, the dream will help us realize it. So that was what was coming to me as I was listening to you guys talking, and I thought that you've got so much wisdom and wealth coming in here, and it's from so many different perspectives. It's just wonderful.
Yeah, that's the beauty, like how we all bring our inputs as well, and ideas and inspirations as well in for as well. Another tip how it could look to be accountable on a day-to-day basis is, just like, write down the tasks for that particular day. So what are the most important tasks you want to be fulfilling each day as well? And if you want as well, rather than just doing as well the mundane cleaning and shopping list and so on. So if it's related as well in regards to the business, you can even learn to bring your intuition in. So what are the most important things using your intuition I'm going to do today for my business? And instead of logical things, just like bring your intuition in as well and write them down. It doesn't have to be a big long list, but like if you use it well with your intuition as well, you will get exactly the tasks for that particular day. And then towards the end of the day as well, like you tick them. And this is as well a way how you can hold yourself accountable as well in regards to work or business whatsoever. And as Shireen mentioned quite at the beginning as well, the brain likes a reward. So then as well, like sometimes we do have some tasks and it feels a bit like dreading, we don't really want to do them. But then as well, what could a reward be for you, like after you have accomplished this particular task too? Because just like, again, the brain likes the rewards as well. It's like this signal to be doing more of those things without dreading them so much in the future. And the reward, it doesn't have to be anything major. It can just be like, I don't know, your favorite smoothie. It doesn't have to be big major things. It can be something small as well. Yeah. And in regards to the spiritual development, it has come up as well already today, the word and then the area for accountability too. It keeps us grounded and ethical too. It's just like another thing when for me, for example, it's important to feel grounded because I'm usually very much in the mind thinking and like, like with my thoughts as well. So I'm not a very grounded person, but like me thinking back of the times I'm being accountable as well, I hold myself accountable. It brings me back into my body and I feel more grounded as well. And another good point again here is it encourages me as well to be consistent. This is as well important. Consistent with doing things, action, practicing stuff, so that I can grow in particular areas as well in my life, and consistent as well with actions, because without action we don't get results and we don't get our dreams and goals fulfilled. So the consistent is important to be and to have as well. And accountable as well is, it ensures us as well to apply what we have learned. This is important too, because so often just like I did some courses in the past, and then instead of applying what it is I've learned in the past, I understood now that I have to at least apply 1, 2, or 3 things from that particular course or whatever it is I paid for to learn certain things. Because in the past, I did a course, I signed up for something, but all the notes I just put on the shelf development, I didn't look back into it. So I didn't hold myself accountable. So, but then as well, afterwards, nothing actually really changed in regards to what it is I wanted to change by doing the course, or to have like certain outcomes by attending those courses, because I didn't put the things into practice. So I didn't apply what I have learned. So this, this came up again in regards to accountability. Yes. Nomsa.
I like that, Claudia, when you say you put things on the shelf and you've never looked at it. I think when I met Des the first time, it was one of the things that he said to me, when you go to business events, please do not buy any products, because there are some people, like the people that I used to coach, they'll go to every event, they'll buy products, they get home, they put it on the shelf, and when they put it on the shelf, they're not gonna look at it, and it's all wasted. So it's like, buy something that you know when you go home you're gonna implement. If you're really, really desperate for it. So I like that you brought that up, because I think that is really, really important. There are so many business people that they go out and they'll take notes and they just put on the shelf and they don't look at it again. I like when you say write down the task for what is important today. I think that is really, really important. You said pick the ones that you know that they are important, and hold yourself accountable. So I think that's important. Hold yourself accountable. That is really, really important. And also, Shireen, you said, what does accountability looks like? And you mentioned the dream you have to be realistic when it comes to the dream. For me, I've been reading the Bible lately, and I listen to Tony Robbins. You know, when someone is teaching, and you listen to them, but you don't really you understand it, but you think you understand it, but you don't understand it. So I've been reading the Bible, and I'm realizing that the lifestyle in the Bible is meant to be our lifestyle. So Sharina says, be realistic of your dreams, and also do the training if you need the training and things like that. I think that is really, really, really important. Also, if you want, as when I'm reading the Bible, I'm thinking if I want God to bless me, I've got to give him something to work on. I've got to have the knowledge in something, and then I ask him to bless me. But at the same time as well, if you really, how God works is when you put a sacrifice in your life and you hold yourself accountable, and your heart truly, truly, you seek him truly, truly with wholeheartedly, and you also wholeheartedly you want to succeed, but you want your intentions has to be right. And when your intentions are right, and God will not resist to help you in that product, whatever you do. He will never, ever, ever. That's why you see all these billionaires, they've learned that I need to go to them. They all tell you that I read the Bible. I read the Bible. I follow them now in the US. Like there's this program, that guy that goes around and interviewing billionaires and stuff and millionaires. I listen to them, and all of them, they're like, I've got to be a Christian for me to keep my billions or to be a billionaire, to have divine ideas. I've got to read the Bible. So I think it's really, really important. If you know what you want and who you want to become, hold yourself accountable, and also shut the voices, because the voices of people, they're there to shut you down, to tell you that you are not good enough. And if you know that, because sometimes the things that maybe Claudia may come to me and say, no, I want to do this. It might not make sense to me, but to her, it might make sense. So if it makes sense to you, Claudia, you go for it. You shut my voice and you go for it, because that's your dream, and you are holding yourself accountable. Because for me to understand the dream, I have to see the product. But before that, I might not even understand what you're doing, where you need to go. I must say you're mad. Even Dr. Olukoya, he says when he finished his PhD, and when God called him and when he told people that's what he wanted to do, and the people went, you mean you went to school to be like this? And he said, yeah. And he said people doubted him, but now he's worth more than anything because he loves God. And he's like, you got to do what you need to do. You got to hold yourself accountable. Whatever decisions you do, if it's business, you got to hold it accountable. You got to hold yourself accountable. And even the website, Claudia, you got to keep going, because nobody will do it for you. And also, Shireen, you got to believe, we have to keep trusting God. I know you love God and you trust God. You got to just, like when you make a decision, you are like, your intuition, Claudia, she's big in intuition. Your intuition, it will tell you that this is the right decision, but because of fear, and fear will stop us. So you just need to keep going. For me, the people around me think I don't make sense. We were making decision a few days ago with someone. He goes, Nomsa, you don't make sense. And I was like, nothing I do makes sense. I was like, have you just realized now? I said to him, nothing I do makes sense. Even to me, it does not make sense. But all I know is God is there. He's the one. I said to him, every product you see finished, it starts without making sense. To me, I just trust God and I trust my intuition and I trust that I'm going to get there. But at the beginning, nothing makes sense. So I said to him, speak to Hope's daddy. Hope's daddy will tell you this one, whatever she does, I don't argue. I just go with it because she's mad. But otherwise, otherwise it comes through. But because sometimes people don't understand. Sometimes you got to make decisions that don't make sense to people.
Mm.
in order for you to get there.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah,
like a job and say, I'm going to start a business. And people will be like, what?
yeah,
Sorry,
and
Sheree.
often people find it very difficult because it's not been part of their concept and not how they envision you to be, right?
Yeah.
And so it can be very discombobulating for people. And I think it's really important, as you say, we have to remember to we listen to our intuition. But the more you trust yourself, the more intuition comes, right?
Yeah.
Because when we kind of have the dream and we've connected to it very deeply, and we're already in the process of shifting ourselves, we get very clear intuitions. The most important thing is we need to be able to read them because they come every day, they come all the time. But it's how do we filter out? And we filter out when we have self-trust, when we have the capacity to be able to do that. And so that's a really important aspect. When we self-trust, we don't feel fear. We feel we can handle it. Even if it's a little bit dodgy, we can still get through it because we're trusting ourselves, and we're trusting the higher power that's part of ourselves. So I think it's really important. And I thought, I was just thinking, I wrote down something, which was, for me, accountability allows the fulfillment of a promise we make to ourselves.
Beautiful as well.
So I think, when we have a dream, when we come here, we make promises. Promises are a contract we make in order to get something done, the purpose of why we're here, the contract. So when we are accountable, and when we understand what it looks like, we can see the behaviors that we have to have, the capabilities, all of those things, what needs to be in place now, what needs to be in place there, how do we handle setbacks? All of these things give us self-trust. And at the same time, they're all part of the bigger promise, right? They're part of the bigger dream. So when we have accountability, we fulfill the promise. We fulfill it. And it feels like something really deep for me, because when I think about making a promise, I don't break it, right? For me, the promise is my word. The promise is the whole of me when I make a promise. Otherwise, I never make a promise. If someone says, do you promise you'll never tell this truth? I said, well, it depends. I can promise that I can look to see whether it's necessary to break this promise or not, right? But I can't, I can't guarantee that I'll never, ever say something if it's your life at stake or it's somebody else's life at stake. No, I won't fulfill that promise. So it's really clear about what I would fulfill my promise and what I wouldn't. But a promise is a commitment, it's a contract. And so when we have a dream, we have a contract. And we have the contract that we decide that we're going to do, and that's our promise. So accountability for me gives me that capacity to fulfill the promise. So that at the end of your life, you can look back and you can go, guess what? Hey, tick, tick, tick. Yes, those are all my promises and they came right.
Yeah. Just like as well to say some final words as well from me here. I mean, basically as well, no one can do the work for us, as we already, good as well. So basically we can learn the tools and we can feel inspired as well by things, and we can receive the insight as well. But like the real transformation begins with the moment when we decide to show up for ourselves consistently, basically as well. Again, here, consistently too. And then we can hold ourselves as well to the vision we say we want to be and to have. And trust again. And this is when the real shift happens, basically as well. Yeah.
Love that from both of you ladies. For me, my final words would be celebrate growth and recommit as well. Accountability is not a one-time decision. It's a lifestyle and it's a habit to celebrate your progress, whether big or small, then recommit to the next level. This is how you become dependable, powerful, and truly incredible. Just whatever you do, stay committed. Sometimes we might not get the results that we need when we're doing things, but just keep going. Know where you are and know have your big why as well. I think that is really, really important. And keep going and just enjoy the journey. Is Claudia at the beginning, you said we're not supposed to see the ending, so enjoy it. So if you guys are watching from YouTube, please do share the video with your friends and family, and do subscribe to our channel as well. And on Facebook, we have two groups, Unique Billionaire Mindset and Ngozi Talk Shows. Please do be part of those groups, join the groups and be part of Ngozi Talk Shows. And on the website as well, you can go and sign up on the website and be part of the family as well. Coaching, if you want coaching. And if you want to find love, please do go to the website as well. May God bless you. Live with grace, and I shall see you tomorrow.